One, what's another toxic workplace? Toxic workplace signs.
Gossip.
Gossip. For sure. And I'm gonna put informal and formal because honestly, when an organization's communication is bad, they'll be gossiping about the organization. So like right now, people will gossip about internally what's going on. Versus if the organization's communication is good, it's gonna be like gossip about individual workers, right? So high turnover, gossip, poor communication. Poor communication is one. Any type of harassment. I'm not gonna list them all, but any type of harassment, if they are not following HR policies, that's a huge. Policies, there we go. So that's also a huge red flag. So the fact that he didn't go through HR to formally file a PIP, So any kind of HR policies, if there's no upward communication. So like suggestion boxes. Anybody ever had, we're gonna talk about different leadership styles, but anybody ever had a country club boss? He or she told you what you wanted to hear, but maybe that wasn't actually what happened, or I don't know, I've got a country club boss. Sometimes he tells me what I want to hear versus, I'll go back,
Versus what you need to hear.
Right, about like what's gonna actually happen. Like I'll go and vent to him about a problem and I'll say, hey, this person needs to be transferred or whatever. They're not working well with other faculty. And he'll go, yes, we'll transfer them. And then I'll go back and 2 weeks later to check when they're being transferred. He's like backpedaling, It's like, that sometimes it's the cool boss who wants to be everybody's friend, so he doesn't enforce policies, So if there's not a lot of upward communication, that's also a red flag. And then we talked about grievances, right? Or an appeal process. Do y'all know the process? Like if you want to appeal your grade, like, as a student, that's a process you guys need to know just in case. Hopefully you never have to use it. But every semester I get a handful of students that, need to appeal their grade or they want further explanation on their grades, So even in work, there needs to be some sort of grievance or an appeal process, right? Grievance or an appeal process.
Some people did that with his years.
Yeah, like first talk about it with
Last semester, I
your
want to say.
instructor. So
some of
you
it.
and your instructor, you talk about
Me
it
eventually
and
did.
it's still like go to the department chair, then go to the dean, and when it gets to the dean, they'll have a form that you fill out. And basically you just write, what happened that semester and why you feel like the grade needs to be examined. Yeah. It's always good to know. I feel like most instructors work with students, but every now and then, especially because of COVID, when COVID first hit, our processes weren't good, like our notification process and stuff. So, and I don't know what was up with me. In almost 18 years of teaching, I had one like change of grade, just like I post grades early, But during COVID, like I had 3 back to back. I was like, oh my gosh, So, okay, any of you guys ever worked in a toxic work environment? What was going on?
I still do.
No, what's the biggest thing that drives you?
Supervisors quitting or getting fired because of sexual
Yeah.
constantly.
Really?
That was
Mark Smith Security, they're employed by American Airlines.
Okay, so you work at the airport?
By the airport.
By the airport, okay.
Has
Is
anyone
it a
heard any
situation where it's
toxic
like,
workplace
like
environment?
gender specific, so like it's mainly,
It's mainly men that are employed there, and the men pretty much going for towards the girls, and
okay,
there's like the men are like in the late 30s, 40s, going towards like early 20s women.
yeah.
I'm like, find someone your age, man.
Right. And honestly, that's a
No.
huge red flag, like, that opens the company up to legal issues, so for sure, if there's stuff like that going on, that's toxic for sure. Anybody else been in a toxic work environment?
Oh, you have ordinances in mind,
Okay.
like, the days, they weren't really set, your work days.
Oh, no, the schedule was, everywhere. I worked in a toxic work environment, like, and I've had some really good female bosses. I'm not like, being negative about female bosses. In fact, like, Zena Jackson has been incredible since I've been here. I like her leadership style. But my first boss at TCC was horrible. She was passive aggressive. I knew she was pissed at me one day when she invited everyone out to lunch but me, and I was like, oh my gosh, I guess she's upset, Yeah. So be careful, be careful. We talked about a bunch of different company cultures, and when you guys graduate, you're gonna be looking for specific things in your job. And just be careful of some of the traps I feel like that are out there, like that whole family motif to get you to work harder, or
For
unpaid
free.
labor, because we're a family. Right. Or another one is toxic positivity. Like, some jobs, like, they want that positive atmosphere that do nothing to help kind of create it. So, okay. Straight to power plants. Hey guys, I'm gonna skip around to make sure I get to everything that's on our list. I've got some cool photos for you too. I want to talk about some of like nonverbals in our everyday. But let me get you this slide you have to have. This stuff is sprinkled all throughout chapter 4. It'll take you forever to find each one of these. So take a quick photo of this slide, okay? These are all the different types of nonverbal communication. I want to talk about paralanguage. Somebody in here, do your mom or your dad's voice? How do you know you're in trouble? Like, if you're in trouble, if they say your name, like.
Once you start yelling, our native language.
Oh, really? What's your native language?
I feel that on the spiritual level.
Oh, no way. Caribou. Yes.
Caribou's in it.
I know like a couple words. If you don't use it, you lose it. So.
Yeah, I'm trying to go back.
That's a trigger
like
of my
back
parents being
Kenya
mad at
or
me.
Kenya. They always talk about like the good Swahili, and I met people from Tanzania, and
Stop.
then I knew what they were talking about. It just sounds really pretty.
That's like hell, yeah.
Swahili, the way
Yeah.
yeah. So if your mom literally switches languages, okay.
Oh, my mom says my full name and does that too.
I don't
She
think-
speaks Spanish,
I
yeah.
don't think my
Full
mom was
name
ever done
and
that.
switches languages,
Yeah.
right?
I just
Scares
get
me.
stuck
And she
out.
gets the
What's the
whoop
middle
and
name?
spoon. Oh no,
What's the middle name?
that
Yeah.
scares me back
Okay,
then.
you guys can give me
Okay.
examples of paralanguage.
P-A-K-H-A stands for wisdom, ironically.
Okay,
You could
let me
find
show
it.
you some examples.
Your face.
Okay, has
I'm
this
gonna
ever
get
happened to
canceled.
anybody in here?
No.
Where your personal space, I feel like people are
Yeah.
better during COVID, but you've had people like,
There was like a guy that I
We did that a
know.
lot in
Uh-huh.
I hang out with him because he's always like within 2 feet of me. And he's talking and stuff, but he's on my back. I just can't deal with that.
one of my best friends is from Egypt, and he's lived here for like 20 years or whatever, but he talks to me like right here,
No, sir.
And when we first met, like I backed up, and then he would come forward, I'd
Okay.
slide to the side. And
I like
then
to
he
get
would go
real
to the
close
side.
and
Oh, yeah,
personal.
I'm not going there laughing.
Bro, 6 feet, bro. 6 feet.
Yeah.
Kept doing that post
So
2020.
proxemics is the study of space and how we use space, and everybody is different. I feel like with COVID, like, how many of you guys have like, it's changed your interactions a little bit? Yeah, how has it changed your interactions? Are you further apart? Right, yeah,
Yeah.
Well, yes and no.
Yeah.
Sometimes yes, sometimes no.
Probably before I would realize that.
It's like
I was
yes,
somebody,
but not really.
now I'm like aware, like when I do get close to somebody, like what my face is.
yeah, so true. Study of space, and guys, this even goes for office buildings, so like how they design. That's why when they were building the Apple headquarters a couple of years ago out in California, I forget the name of it, Cupertino, name of the city. They talked about like using proxemic studies to design their office spaces.
The chronology?
Uh-huh.
What is that?
Chronology is the interpretation of time. So like, I'm always like, I'll be back in a second, but I don't literally mean a second, right? You know? Or like, if I tell my friend, I have a friend that's very literal, if I tell her like, hey, I'll call you back, I mean, like, before I die, like, I'm gonna call you back at some point in life, you know? But she's like, you know, you said you're gonna call me back. I didn't mean today, you know? So how many of you guys, like, if you say you're gonna be back in a second, or how many of you guys are chronically late or chronically early? Yeah,
Usually
which
early.
which one?
I'm usually early.
Late.
By federal law, I have to be early.
Late.
If I'm not 15 minutes early, then you still.
Bro, I hope you're
Yeah.
14
Yeah, I
minutes.
think that was-
I hope you're 14 minutes early now. So
Like,
we're
my group of
fired.
friends,
No,
they
it's
used to say 3 o'clock, no one's
I can't
gonna
fire
get
you.
that. So we said
Unless you
2:30.
2:30, yeah.
Felony or something.
My
They'll
husband,
punish you
I'll
and the
text
whole
him,
rest of the
like, where
freaking
you at?
company,
Because
too.
if I ask him how
I hope
long,
you're
he'll
14
say
minutes
15
early.
minutes, and 15 minutes
I'm
might
usually
be an
late.
hour, you
My bad,
know?
my bad. I hope you're not. My bad.
And hey, this
I
is
hope
even,
you're
this is
14
important at
minutes
work, because like,
and
how many of you
59
guys get a work
seconds.
break that's supposed to be,
And 30
you know, everybody
seconds.
says we get a break, like an hour break, we can go work out, but pretty much everybody here shorts that hour. Nobody takes the whole hour. You get an hour of your office hours if you wanna work out and stuff, but nobody takes the full, you know, they would talk about you if you did. So like, if you get a break at work and it's supposed to be 15 minutes, but everybody takes 30, you know?
Bro, I'm punching.
I have the opposite.
Okay. Okay. Talk about paralanguage. Hey guys, this is what I like, let me look at what y'all have on, see if I can tell. Anybody got religious jewelry on or anything meaningful to
My dog
you?
tags say no preference on them.
My next class at the high school, I love their t-shirts. They always wear like Death Row Records and Selena and, Aaliyah, like all this 90s music. Yeah, and I know they have no idea, you know? Right. I love Bob Marley, love
That's not my
love,
laptop.
like his music is like protest music, Rastafarian. But I just hate that a lot of people who know Bob Marley, it's just like weed, you know? So, but my niece wanted a Bob Marley shirt, and I was like, okay, sure. Like, name one song, and I'll get you one. And she could not name one song, so she didn't
That
get
sounds like
one.
Esteban.
But artifacts have physical meaning.
Funny number.
Huh?
Funny
Anybody wearing something that's important to you? Tell us about it.
Sorry.
No?
Can you repeat the question?
Like artifacts are like objects, physical properties that have communicative value. So like when we see a stop sign or a red light, we know we're supposed to stop. It has a communicative value. Now, whether we stop or not, that's up to, that's up to y'all, right?
Does rolling
But it has
stops
a
count?
communicative value. So like people that wear wedding rings, there's one lady up here, her wedding ring is like, you know, somebody loves her very much. She has a huge family. She had like 8 kids or whatever. And now she's got like 20-some grandkids. And like they all, you know, went in and got her, you know, upgraded her ring, like literally. I worry about getting knocked in the head, but like her ring is like huge.
Would this also include like clothing as well?
Yeah, I was looking at your Hogwarts shirt. I was so gonna use you as an example.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
I was actually thinking more in terms of like seeing people with like military uniforms on public.
Dog tags, for sure.
Only boots wear their
Oh, you got a
uniforms in
junior
public
bracelet.
though.
I
That's how you know
never
that they're a
not
junior
seen
member.
that. That's so cool. Where are y'all from in Canada, by the way? Where are your
I saw a
grandparents?
freaking little baby E1 soldier. at the
Really? Nairobi?
Round one arcade.
Okay.
at the mall
That's where
where
my friend lives.
You told
They
me
live in
about that,
Durham.
Why you pouring this shit on our one, homie?
They're from the Kuru, but they're original. Yeah, but I like Nairobi, boy. I almost like to buy a car.
Oh, yeah.
You're getting slaps nuts.
Yeah, they don't care about
Gross.
I went to the University of Nairobi. Did I tell you all about that? All the students were so
None of
dressed
that.
up. Oh my goodness. I was so glad, like I was meeting another professor there and I was so glad I had dressed up. I took a photo of this because I thought it was so odd, but like corruption is a problem. Like bribing for grades or like, you know, even like professors, you know,
Yeah.
dating students is a problem. And so they're trying to like shift the culture. And so they had these huge signs of, corruption-free zone. And like they had like where you could report on different
So
people,
like
you know?
you're my
But I thought
favorite
this
teacher,
was
you know?
That doesn't do anything.
really
Like, for example, if you get paid, like, less than you should get paid, if someone's gonna give you money, give me money.
Yeah.
I'll make you a great good.
But it's really interesting, like I know a lot of people who come on campus, yeah, because like it's so expensive, everybody's like serious about their,
Yeah, you see how it is out there. See, like,
I thought I had a high-low experience with my friends, but I was going there
Sir,
to
can you
visit,
do
they
it
had
higher
like,
league? We can all hear your
I had
protein.
my own private like maid, I've never lived as good as I lived.
yeah,
Yeah, never. I have my own private maid, like they live on a compound. But then I went to Tanzania to go volunteer and it was like the other side, you know, so.
when you go to the regular valley,
Yes, and like, now I can't read any of those writers that wrote about the Great Rift Valley because they write about like, a lot of negative stuff, like the killing of animals, like Hemingway and all that. I can't read them anymore. Because once you see it,
yeah, the views weren't there.
oh yeah, I went on safari. I saw animals not in a cage, And I saw like the top 5. I saw a rhino, and they're like, my children will probably never see a rhino in the wild.
Did Spider-Man fight it?
And that spot where Mombasa died. Saw it. I was like, no. Okay, guys, kinesis is body language. It's what your body language says about you. I think, this photo of someone with their hands on their hip. We don't get too much into this, but like we interpret body language a lot. In my intro class, we do a lot of activities with kinesis. And then haptics is the study of touch and how like what's appropriate touch, inappropriate, that sort of thing. Okay, so 6 types of nonverbals. Okay. Ooh, these are just good photos. Let me show you these photos. So this was former German Prime Minister Angela Merkel, right? I think Oppenheimer is the new guy's name, but then President Bush goes behind her to give her a little shoulder rub, and she is like, "Heck no, don't do it." And this is one of my favorite episodes of Seinfeld. I'm not sure if you guys remember the Sig Nazi, would deny people, if they got out of hand in line, he would deny them soup or whatever. And so that one is a good nonverbal example, because sometimes it's like if you're just slow to order, he's like, "You're done, you're out," But here Seinfeld talking about how guy fights start. It's like they always get in each other's space first, and then someone swings.
Oh, that's what that is.
Nah, usually
I thought-
it's
I don't
in
know.
the face and you back up and then you.
Because I try to be equal opportunity with my political photos, so don't think
Only
I'm gonna
occurs
pick on
1 out of
any one
100.
person or one
Sometimes they
party,
start
okay?
kissing.
Equal opportunity. Okay, why do companies,
know.
your book
I think
basically
the
makes an
danger
argument for why companies use uniforms.
Just-
And I think it's pretty self-explanatory, like artifacts matter, right? And so when they've got that stamp on your back, how may I help you? It's like they're trying to push a certain, like look or
Image.
agenda. And then we don't think of ourselves as taking part in body adornment, but everybody in here took part in body adornment, right? If you brushed your teeth, if you put on jewelry, combed your hair, all that is body adornment, right? My grad school textbook literally had 30 pages
Bleach
in the
teeth.
appendix with like
Is more
just
accurate.
lawsuits for companies, school districts, basically over like, appearance, like hair. So I don't know, companies are normally really picky about this kind of stuff because when they allow you to wear your own clothes, they open themselves up to more litigation. So when there's a uniform, sometimes it can be easier for companies because everybody's got to dress to the same standard. Right? And then think about companies like Freebirds and I'll say to a certain degree Whole Foods, right? Where you can have like facial tattoos and, tons of piercings versus like places like In-N-Out Burger where you can have, if you're a woman, you can have one piercing, period. visible piercings.
It has to be the left
So a
ear.
lot of companies, and then like with the whole beard thing, everybody's wearing beards. One of my students in my 2 o'clock class was talking about her husband works for Miller Lite Distributing, and they made him shave his beard, and she was like, oh my gosh, this should have been a family decision, like, why didn't you look for another job? But, yeah, some companies are really strict. No. Oh, okay. So, but yeah, and he can't drink in his uniform, like, they give you all these nice shirts and stuff, but they are really particular if you work for their company. Yeah.
Oh, for you?
Okay, I'm gonna skip this.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, this is just a good point to make. All nonverbals are culture bound, right? So us being raised here, our nonverbals are gonna be different than somebody else, right? Or, when we travel, there are differences in different countries' nonverbals. So I just wanted to point that out. These are a couple of symbols, right? This made news headlines. I don't know why. When I started traveling and I saw men like friendships, like not relationships, but friendships. When I was in Turkey, you would see men holding hands, and I've heard in other parts of the world it's normal, it's normal. So like this made news and it shouldn't have, but it's like unusual for us to see that here. Hillary Clinton would always gripe about Putin and his man spray. She said there was one time he had his legs so far apart, like she felt like it was vulgar,
Did a complete 180.
So that this is an
They're
example,
just
like he was trying to be,
Yes.
by the way he was sitting, he was trying to get her angry.
That shows
out
power.
his nuts.
Communicate power.
It's interesting you guys mention that.
Oh
Like,
gosh.
there are different gestures, low power and high power gestures. There's a video on YouTube from this Harvard professor talking about it.
That's an alpha move.
Yeah, I heard also like if a person's like a man who's shaking your hand like this, while your hand's like at the bottom, like he's showing his dominance.
Yeah, for sure. And people interpret handshakes too, so you have to kind of be
There's
careful.
one girl man tried doing that with me, and I ended up just fixing his hand real quick.
Just-
And he was shocked that I knew like for my age and whatnot.
Yeah.
So then ever since then, like he started respecting me.
I hate that when people just aggressively shake your hand.
Shake
They're
your
so
hand.
rude. They're shaking a woman. Someone just.
Yeah. I don't like the double, when they double, like you're shaking hands and they put their other hand on top of.
Oh, like they used to. I didn't
Yeah.
even realize that was still a thing. I thought that was like a thing.
I do that as a joke.
Okay, guys, this sign has a bunch of different
Can't do
meanings.
that neither. Post
And
image.
Germany, you're telling somebody they're worthless. It's like zero, you are worthless, right?
That's what he means in German.
If you flip
What?
it around.
No.
No, it's like the white power.
No way.
Flip it like this.
Really? Some of those groups scare me a little bit. I saw them.
They use stands that mainstream people use, so they can basically be integrate themselves into the culture.
Yes, yeah.
Because if someone's doing this, you don't really know what they're doing, but communicative wise, they.
Yeah. Okay.
This is the white part, and you can turn it around and you have to be.
That's the thing. Okay. I love it. I thought you, like in a lot of countries it has a sexual connotation, so I thought that's where you were. Yeah.
This is black.
No.
Okay, in Japan, it talks about this being like a sign for money. You know how this is a sign for money for us? Yeah. That Chuck Norris, does anybody know what's this mean? Of yours in Europe? Of yours?
Oh, that's what it is.
You know, one of my
Oh, I thought it was
favorite
this.
things, Inglorious Bastards. Inglorious Bastards. They figure out based on nonverbals, that they're a spy, that they're basically on accounting. You know how we don't use our thumb? Yeah. So if you hold up, this can be interpreted as two, because they count. They use the thumb as 1, 2, right? And so he's ordering in the bar, and he goes, "Hey, give me 2, 3. Give me 3.
I think I remember.
Yes.
Some people
And so
do
he
like
does
that,
it
yeah.
5. Yeah.
Like this is 3, this is 2.
Uh-huh.
I think is this 1? Or
1.
It has to be a horrible spy though.
They count
It has to be a
thumb.
horrible spy. like not knowing like the
There's no
basics
movie?
of it.
It's good.
It's good.
No, they asked
That's
if they
kind
did
of-
this and they handed them two,
Yeah.
then
Yeah,
three.
sure.
It's not
Four.
supposed to be.
Yo, James Bond.
Yeah. So I don't know, in traveling, to me, it's always been important to know nonverbals. I was trying to get a taxi in Turkey, and like, if you make eye contact with them, but like, I was in New York style, put your hands in the air kind of thing, and nothing. Even now, like, I'm not sure if you guys have been to Vegas recently, but you used to could get a cab anywhere in Vegas, like on the strip, and because of safety, he said, they restricted it to just the hotels where you can get, and like, a hotel might look, in Vegas, it might look like it's right here, but it's really 2 miles away. Y'all know that?
Yeah.
Like, when you're in Vegas, sometimes things that look closer, because of the lights and stuff. So, but, it's like how you do things can be different. In Turkey, even in public areas, sometimes they don't wear shoes. Like, I have a lot of friends, and I didn't know that, like, okay. I didn't know that, like, pretty much Western countries are the only people that wear shoes in the house. Did y'all know that?
Yeah.
Like, so many of my friends who are not from here don't wear shoes in the house. Or they have shoes that they only wear in the house.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I have house shoes, yeah.
Yeah,
I
I
have
have
shoes. I'm not allowed to take my shoes
Yeah.
inside.
And
Yeah,
like,
my house is dirty.
once I heard that from my friend, like, it makes sense to me. Do you know what I mean? Like, not wearing your outside
To
shoes.
have your shoes in their
In
house.
Turkey, they'll, like, at
Especially for
restaurants,
Asia.
some restaurants and stuff, they'll have like a shoe thing and like a rug. And like, I took off my shoes, but I wasn't on the rug yet, and they were like, no, stand on the rug and take off your shoes. But I was surprised by how many public places you had to, take your shoes off. Any nonverbals y'all know from other places that are different from how we do here?
The left hand thing, like, I know in African countries like Nigeria, if you like accept something with your.
Oh, you can't do that.
Oh, yeah, you can't shake people with your
Yeah.
left hand.
Yeah.
Really.
Even if they're left-handed.
Yeah.
And like when you shake, for me in Nigeria, in my culture, when you shake someone that's like really older than you have to use your hand like this. Like, this hand and this hand. If you don't do that, it's like a lack of disrespect.
Yeah. So true.
Oh, and Muslims, I know they can't use their left hand either.
Yeah.
What?
Interesting.
There's a lot of countries that don't like the left hand. I have a friend that was supposed to be left-handed and they made her switch, made like her writing hand.
Yeah, my older brother grew up in Africa, his teacher made him write with his right hand. Like, she
Yeah.
purposely forced him to write with his right hand.
Seems like a son of the devil or something.
Yeah.
I want to say, I think I remember
That's like that.
vaguely being something.
Yeah. Well, and then like also eating with your hands, there are rules to it. It's just like we have rules when we're eating with a fork and a knife or a spoon or whatever. Like, in Turkey, I ate with my hands.
Is
When I was at my friend's house in Africa, I ate with my hands.
just
like
universally
stew.
rude?
And I can make like some dishes, like, but I didn't realize like a lot of Kenyan food is influenced by Indian food.
Yeah, they go hand in hand.
Like samosas, I can make some good samosas too. I'll make some food, mandazis, I can make good mandazis. So, but there are rules to it, they will talk all kinds, huh? Oh, yeah, I might be pronouncing it wrong, chapatis, they're kind of, okay, yeah, I can't make those, but they're good, they're good. Okay, this is one of my favorite shows, then it got canceled, it was so good. This guy would basically tell if people were lying based on their nonverbals. And like some of the stuff, like there's a researcher that's in my communication, in our textbook, that's also a contributor to this show, but it's all about using nonverbals for lie detection. Okay, so here's an example.
Well,
The original study was done in 1970s by Dr. Ekman and Friesen, and essentially they dissected different facial expressions to kind of tell you what they mean. The more you know someone, the better you are at detecting what their facial expressions mean, right? So they gave an actor like 106 different emotions, and then from the neck up, they had to portray those emotions. If you've seen that Disney movie of, I forget the name of it, Inside Out, and it's about all the different emotions. I've got like God kids, so I know like every Disney movie. So they talk about, there are 7 basic emotions that are, they say universal. How they're expressed is different based on culture, but they're like, In every culture, you'll see these different emotions. Okay. I'm gonna skip around. Oh, I do have some Turkish photos. You're gonna see some of my friends. This is Fozzie. I still keep in contact with him. He was y'all's age when I met him. He was getting his degree in tourism. So Turkey, their political climate has changed, and so, but he's still working in tourism. He does medical tourism. So people go to Turkey a lot. Like my friend came back with new teeth, and people do a lot in Turkey because it's affordable. But this is another example of two men holding hands, and it's totally platonic. Totally platonic. So. Yeah, it'd be a little interpreted different. So, and they had their arms interlocked. We were shopping. So this handshakes like one thing. Like I have like my best friend, my Turkish best friend is male, and so like they really don't do like unless you're kin to somebody, they don't really do opposite sex friends. I don't know how to explain that, but. They don't really do that a lot. Like, unless you're kin to somebody, or hanging out in a larger group. But, it's just not culturally the norm to shake hands, especially if you're not the same sex. Do you see what I mean? Like, women may do the double kiss or the kiss, but, generally, opposite sex people are not going to be like shaking hands, which is kind of rude, like, but I learned because I would make people uncomfortable. Like I would put my hand out there to shake, and it's just like I would make them uncomfortable, Okay, I believe in this kind of stuff. Like I had an aunt who practiced hoodoo. Like if y'all ask me about this outside of class, I'll pretend like I do not know what you're talking about. But I had an aunt that practiced hoodoo. And so I grew up where she'd keep these blue bottles, like out in her yard.
I have a bunch of those in my house.
Yeah. And so when I went to Turkey and I saw this, it was just like, this reminds me of home. If they shatter, people are happy because it's like whatever bad energy was coming for you, that absorbed it. So I actually had one shatter on me. I was moving out. It was not the best situation. And the house was busy. There were a lot of movers. And the person I was moving out from was talking a lot. And it was like getting on my nerves or whatever. And then like literally I was holding the last box, like I was just about to move out and my evil eye slid out and it like shattered into 100 pieces on the floor. Like all these blue shards went everywhere.
You're supposed to do that?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Well, it's
always
not
too,
supposed to,
bracelets
but it
and fall off
does.
whenever like the mommy needs you wearing it happen.
It happens,
I've
yeah.
seen it happen.
I told my friend about it and I had a huge one that broke and she was like, don't be sad, like whatever was coming for you. And literally the house was super noisy with movers
Like
and
it is strong.
yeah, and you could hear a pin drop when that thing shattered, like, so. And they have them like you'll see them in people's cars, in their houses, above doors, like it's just all over. That and like the founder of modern Turkey, his name was Ataturk. You know how like, I'm not sure, but like my grandma had a picture of MLK up. You know what I mean? Like we grew up in that house. It was like Jesus and MLK, right? So, but there they would have pictures of Ataturk up, like in their businesses and in their homes and stuff. And like there's not one politician I have on my wall, like not one of them, But I think it's like a era in our society that we don't do anymore. Do you guys have anybody on your wall that you like, or politician-wise, or is it just me? I'm jaded. No, yeah, we just don't really do that anymore.
Specifically for politicians or like just like any like figure?
See what the homie said.
I was thinking specifically politicians. Yeah.
I'll send something.
Okay, and so their headscarves are like super colorful, but there are some rules to it. So it was to me interesting to kind of learn some of the different rules. And then that's the tea. They drink tea like all the time.
What the dang?
Okay, we'll end it here. We're talking about public versus private. So, my office
Why
is
is my
on the
mouse
third
working?
floor of this building, looking out on that parking lot. I have seen some shady stuff here at TCC. People will do the craziest stuff in their cars, So, but it's because we assume it's like private, and it's
That window's
not.
stupid.
It's not, right?
No, yeah.
No,
What's happening?
yeah. So
doing
public
drug
versus
now.
private, I put an example here for business of a cubicle. Like, it's private, it's
Oh,
your
you know what?
space,
I know what it
but it's still public, yeah.
There we
So
go.
like, we had somebody I think that was using those plug-in scent things, and people didn't appreciate the scent that she chose. And so she was asked to unplug it, right? And it's because of the public versus private. People always, when they see me out in public, they're like, Miss Lewis, is it you? I get that a lot, because, you know, and here, I don't look this good, but I do try to clean it up. But then on the weekend, when I'm in sweats, pajamas, no makeup, and my hair's not done, and I run into a student in public, they're like, is it you? I'm like, yeah, it's me. But we talk about like work versus, you know, formal versus informal. Okay, test review is up. Be ready for Thursday next week. I'm still gonna go and hit some things on the PowerPoint. Once I'll get the test written for sure and completed by 5. The review is already up, but I'll edit it by 5 today if it's not gonna be on the exam. Question?
Oh, never mind. I was gonna ask what type of skin tone you use.
Oh, yeah, it's that 882. It can be blue or green. It's the long one.
How many questions are on the test?
Anywhere between 40 and 50. So that means they're not worth as much when you got, you know, 4. So, and if it's not on the review, you don't have to study it. Okay. Y'all have a good good, what, Thursday?
Thursday's Monday, Mr. Monday.
Give me your phone.